What do you do when you want to punch your mindful boyfriend in the face? My name is Jessica Leon. I'm a spiritual writer and coach. You can find me at rebelhippiesoul.com. And I am here with my mindful partner, my spiritual partner, Tim Welch.
Hello.
You can find him on Instagram at Selfless Awakening. Yes. And we are filming the third episode of Conscious Coffee, our podcast where we talk about our favorite subject, which is mindfulness, spirituality. And we're really here to share our conversations that we have on a regular basis about metaphysics, the universe. We found that there's not a lot of stuff on YouTube as far as
just like people talking about spirituality and
Yes.
mindfulness, and it's just not as it's not out there.
It's not as prevalent.
Podcasts are awesome that you can just sit around and you can listen to other people talking the same way you talk with your friends about things. And we just kept having this idea of when we're talking in the mornings, like, oh, we should be putting this online, because a lot of times when you're just having great conversations with someone, incredible ideas will come in, and we're like, oh, we should write that down. And so we thought, why don't we do this? Why don't we put it on camera and just chat? And so those of you out there who are longing for spiritual or mindful conversation, which I know there's a lot of you out there, because I know that we sometimes have craved, like, oh, I wish we had someone to talk to about this stuff. So this is for those of you out there. You can put it on in the background of your lives or listen when you're commuting and just kind of feel like we want it to feel like you're here. So feel like you just have a spot. You're sitting right between us. We got our arm around you. We're talking mindfulness.
Okay, Tim.
All right. Real cozy, the three of us.
Moving right
Jesse,
along.
I, and you, right? Yeah.
So
Right.
we're going to talk about my favorite topic for sure, spiritual relationships.
Yes.
And in particular, how do you fight with your partner?
Yes.
And I was really, this topic came back to me because I had a coaching session just last week with a 23-year-old conscious guy in Australia. Lovely guy, so mindful, so awake.
He's watching probably.
I hope he's watching. Hi. And he was talking about the stuff that's coming up with him and his new spiritual partner. And, and I was going over the process that we have and everything that we've learned from being in a spiritual partnership. And so there was so much information that I had to give him. I felt like I was talking over him a little bit, but I wanted him to get every little bit because he had so many questions. And I was like, no. This is what this is. And this is how your ego is going to respond. And I was just sort of dumping everything I knew on him because it's a huge topic. Stuff comes up. And I think that, when you are awake and when you are practicing spirituality, when you're committed to a spiritual practice such as meditation and sitting in silence and becoming present and recognizing that you're not your ego, you are the awareness observing your ego. But all of a sudden you wake up one day and you're not present and your ego is telling you that your partner is not a nice person,
right. Well, it's so normal in the beginning of when you're awakening that you're in and out. Like it's not, oh, I'm becoming present to the little self, the false sense of self, and now I never act out of the little self, or I never behave from that motivation. But that's not how it works.
No.
I mean, it's a stages of thing, and it's kind of like more and more moments in your life you step out of feeling attached to the emotion inside of, and so that's where I get into the topic of spiritual reaction time, which was a concept that came to me a while back about this idea of how long it takes when an emotional reaction happens for you to get to a place where you're not, it's just not automatically talking through you, but you're present to it and not attached to it. You know, like, for instance, let's say you had a fight, you were fighting over, you know, always being late. Maybe your partner's always late, and they walk in the room and just, you're really losing it, getting frustrated. How long does it take before you catch the voice in your head and go, whoa, wow, the voice in the head is really going off on Steve or Jane right now. It's like, even though I do still feel like the voice in the head is pissed off, I'm not going to speak to Steve or Jane about it. I'm just going to, wow, okay. And then they say, hey, how you doing, honey? You're like, oh, I'm good. I'm just processing some things right now. I'll be back online in a minute. You know, it's like getting to the ability, being able to step out. That's the spiritual reaction time. How fast do you catch it? And that's one of the things I think that really evolves in a relationship as far as how to deal with disturbances in the force, I like to call them. Yeah.
I've found that, you know, for me, one of the motivating factors for becoming present is I don't want to fight with you and have that fight last a long time. Like, I'm okay with stuff coming up, but when we are identified with our emotion and it does last us, you know, more than I would enjoy, I feel like, for me, that's motivation. Like, become present, because I don't want to feel separate from you. I want to feel close to you. And I think what makes, and I was telling my client this, I think what makes a spiritual fight, a fight that a couple who's spiritual has, different from a fight that an unconscious couple has. I think the difference is, when stuff comes up and you're in a conscious relationship, it's coming up to be healed and to be released. Yeah. And eventually you're going to be closer to your partner once you heal and release that issue. Yeah. Whereas if you're in an unconscious relationship, stuff comes up, you're usually not healing it or working through it. You usually just ignore it, or you're passive aggressive, or you then the next day complain to your mom when something came up, and it creates more distance in the relationship. So I think the ego has been accustomed to fighting, meaning if we fight, it's pulling us apart. So people don't like the idea of stuff coming up because it feels like it's going to rip us apart. I don't want to be pulled apart from you. So even though something's coming up, I'm not going to tell you. But the truth is, in a spiritual relationship, stuff comes up. And if you can become present, you can heal it and release it. Yeah. And usually one or more of the people feels more awake as a result. A fear is usually shed, and then you get closer. And so, you know, it's counterintuitive, but it's not, you know, it's not really, I don't think of it as fighting. I think of it as healing in a way. You're being triggered so that you can heal that fear. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't feel like we fight. As far as what I think about as fighting, like, you know, like throwing shit in the room, you know, it's like, or like, get the, like, you know, blowing tops, like, you know.
Well, that's if you're unconscious. If you're, I feel if you're conscious,
go there. Yeah.
If you are conscious, I don't feel you're throwing things across the room.
No.
If you are, then you're not in a spiritual relationship.
Yeah, I mean, and it really comes down to, and that's the slow evolution of it, is like, it's just a little bit of the emotional reactions we have toward one another and also in our lives in general. Just they lose their hold on you a little bit more and more the more that you awaken. And then I mean, a lot of times, honestly, when I feel like if I have a disturbance or something annoys me about anything, or you or whatever, like the voice in my head has a comment about you, like, oh, I wish she would just fill in the blank. If it ever did that.
Never.
But, you know, no, like it's almost kind of, it's at some point it almost becomes, when you're so aware of it, it's like it becomes kind of a cute little game. It's like the voice in your head is like, oh, isn't it cute that it's, look at my voice in my head's all getting all, you know.
But I think you have to get through to a certain phase.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that
a pretty far down the road.
You and I think the stuff that comes up now is much lighter and we process it much faster. When we first started dating, I think more stuff came up and I think it was heavier because we were walking through our fears of really entering into a monogamous relationship. Or then when we were in a relationship, it was like we were falling deeper in love with each other. We were, you know, as you're in the initial phases, I think a lot of heavy stuff comes up in those phases because you're walking through that. It's the dissolution of your ego.
Yeah.
It's like, it feels like, can I trust this person? Are they going to hurt me? You still have triggers from that are being healed. Yeah. Can I open my heart to this person? Like, even a year in, so many people are still half in, half out. Like, I don't know, you know, like who is this person? And I think the longer you're together, it's like, now I feel like I've let go any fear I had of like, can I trust him? Like, that's gone, you know, that's been healed. It's like, can I open my heart to, that's healed. It's like, so now the stuff that comes up is the lighter, because the bigger stuff we already went through. So I think it's the tumultuous phase is in the beginning. Yeah. And I was telling my client, A Course in Miracles says, when you enter into a holy relationship, or when you surrender, you know, a special relationship and surrender it to the universe and sort of turn it into a holy relationship, meaning when you enter into a partnership with someone for the purpose of the evolution of your consciousness, you enter into a period of complete disorientation. Yeah. And A Course in Miracles says that your ego becomes completely confused and stuff will come up, and expect it. A Course in Miracles says, expect it. Yeah. Like, it's gonna come up. Why? Because the universe, or A Course in Miracles says the Holy Spirit, is taking your relationship and literally molding it, shaping it to fit a spiritual purpose. Like, so you're literally, you know, and it's, my client gave this beautiful analogy that his guru in Australia gave him. He said, imagine 2 stones in a bag, and the stones have like the stones are very rough. And imagine, you know, you put the 2 stones in a bag and you shake up the bag. And that's what a spiritual relationship is it's buffing away all of those rough edges. And it's like, so that's disorienting. Your edges are getting buffed off. And then of course you come to a point in the relationship where a lot of the roughness has been buffed off. Yeah. So I think it's that initial, here you go.
Yeah. I think definitely the more you deepen together, the more synchronizations and the more flow you feel. And I mean, I think it really comes down to 2, when we say a spiritual or mindful relationship, what are we talking about? Like in our case, and I mean, definitely in our case, and I'm sure anyone else really that would talk about it probably, but it's about aligning. It's about the awakening of consciousness. It's about evolving together and growing and deepening into the true identification with who you truly are with another person. And it's almost it's such a selfless thing to be in an actual, like, real deal spiritual relationship is as selfless as being in the deepest spiritual practice personally. It's the same game. It's not like, it's like my surrender practice in my own personal life is to pretty much give everything that ever happens over to some magical internal higher power thing that's going on. But in my spiritual relationship, no, I'm I'm going to hold on to my Doritos and I'm going to hold, you know,
Right.
it's like,
Doritos.
these are my Doritos. No, but it's like, it's the same game of, it's the same idea of everything is for the same purpose. Like when it comes down to a spiritual relationship or a spiritual anything, when you put, I want to have a spiritual milkshake, what you're basically saying is, I want to have a milkshake that expands consciousness, that is surrendered to the highest good for the universe. You know, it's like, that's really what it means. And so in a relationship like that, it's a very purposeful union. It's a very,
Yes.
it's not about like
Ego.
it's not about some egoic picture of what a relationship looks like, which is how society defines relationships. And it's such a, not that there's anything wrong with romance and excitement and wooing and all of the things that happen that make up the movies and the stories we see on TV and those things. There's nothing wrong with that in your life. And I think we all want to continue to maintain that mystery and magic. But to think that, like, what a relationship mostly is it's the little stuff. It's the waking up, and it's the, oh, what are you doing? It's the, oh, make me a cup of coffee too. Oh, I forgot my thing from the car. Could you grab it? Oh, it's this, like, oh, you're sleeping till 7:30. Let me be quiet. It's the 1,000 little things like that. That's actually what a relationship is.
Yes.
And that's spiritual practice of the minutia,
Yes.
the day-to-day of life.
Yes.
It's like, that's what an actual relationship is. And it's not glamorous like you would see in the
No.
movies, but it's beautiful. It is glamorous in a zoomed out spiritual way. It's glamorous to actually feel the water when you wash your hands in the morning and notice it and go like, whoa, I could have just been thinking about something else just then. Or how good the shower actually feels sometimes, you know, or how good it feels to snuggle. It's really easy to snuggle. And then it's like, you go, oh, this feels so good. Oh, I remember that one time we were snuggling when we were away before. It was so much fun. I wonder what's going to be on TV later. I'm kind of hungry now. It's like, and you just, you thought about the snuggle
You
for
say
like,
those things out loud, though, Tim.
yeah.
You say them in my ear.
But I mean, it's easy to lose the presence, you know. It's
I
easy.
know, I'm teasing.
Yeah, anyway.
Well,
So
I
that's
think,
the idea.
Yes, it's about, you know, I think of it, for me, it's been about really just opening my heart chakra. It's really about how loving can I be with another human being.
Right.
And I think that as a culture, as an unconscious culture, we have become so used to unconscious behaviors such as nagging, acting passive aggressive, making little shitty comments to our partner, not being intimate, not being fully honest, not sharing our authentic selves.
Right.
We've gotten so used to acting fearful in our relationships, and we pass it off as love, and we pass it off as, well, this is what happens after the honeymoon phase. It's like, no, if you're behaving passive aggressively towards your partner, then that's not loving. It doesn't matter
Right.
if you've been together for 20 years or 2 months. If you're nagging your partner, if you're withholding intimacy, if you're flirting with other people while you're out, if you're being deceptive, if you're, you know, all of these, you know, it's like you said, it's a million decisions a day to show up with integrity. Like if I go to work and I'm feeling crabby and then I come home and I'm a little crabby to you, that's unconscious behavior.
Right.
But to me, spiritual partnership means that you check in with yourself and you say, there's a crabby energy in me. I don't want to take this out on my partner. Maybe I'm going to go take a nap for an hour before we interact. Or maybe I'm going to tell my partner that I'm feeling a little crabby. Let me go sit and meditate. It's like you're taking responsibility for how you show up in the moment.
Right.
And when you're single, it can be easier to go unconscious because no one's there holding you accountable. You know, you go home alone,
Right.
You're unconscious, you're complaining, you're eating cookies on the couch, your home is a mess. No one's there. Nobody
Right.
cares. But when you're with a partner, it's like you're showing up as your best self for them. You're
Right.
present.
Yeah, and
You
it's
know,
not
you
about
have a
like
contender.
it's so common in our culture and the way relationships are set up to, you come home from work, you dump all your shit on your partner, they dump it on you, and then you sit there with each other's, I hate to say it, each other's shit all over each other, all over you. And you're wondering, what is this? This doesn't feel good. It doesn't smell good.
Where has our podcast gone?
How did we get here?
How did we get here?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it's easy to,
exactly.
And
it's very easy,
yeah.
especially after being together a long time.
And there's a difference between, and I have to say too, though, it is okay to sometimes share about what's happened at work. Yeah. It's a nice image, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm back.
No, but like the idea of it's sharing, you tend to your own inner world.
Yes.
Your partner hopefully tends to their inner world. And that's
Yes.
what's the gift of having a spiritual or mindful relationship, is that, if everyone takes care, it's kind of put your own oxygen mask on first. You got to tend to your own state of being, tend to your own vibration, and not bring it into the relationship as much as you can. And there are some times
Right.
where it can be it's not about, honey, don't bring that shit over here type of a thing, but it's more like let's work through it together.
Right.
Where you can say, honey, I have something I need to look at. I was at work. Some heavy things went down. I'd love to talk through it with you. And in that way, it's beautiful. But see, that's a different thing than just bitching about work.
Right.
Because that's an invitation to look
it.
at something, heal it, shine light on it, and pass it. But coming home and just throwing the briefcase
Yeah.
on the counter and just going, yeah, you won't believe what like that's, and not that I mean, sometimes even when
Yeah.
that happens, that's okay too. And
Yeah.
it's like, if your partner's doing it and they're unconscious,
Yeah.
and then you can just sit and be present and just allow it, and you can be the space that they can't be.
Right.
That's the cool thing about it, is you can allow, because you've got two people on guard, two
Right.
people who are present.
Right.
So one goes down.
Yes, the other has to hold the fort.
The other's like,
A
woo.
Course in Miracles
Hold
says
space.
that a miracle can occur in a holy relationship when at least one partner is conscious. And
Right.
I find so often it's easy when you have two people and one person does go unconscious, and let's say a fight, something does come up.
Yeah.
The other person who maybe was conscious will lose consciousness in response
Yeah.
to their partner's unconsciousness.
Yes.
And so a big key is, can one of you stay conscious? It's like,
Right.
that's the key, because if you both go
Hold
under,
space, yeah.
then you're flailing your arms. It's, if
Yeah.
one can stay, the other will actually raise their vibration to match it. It's really checking in with am I conscious? Am
Yeah.
I in a loving, aligned, present state right now? Or am I identified with the fearful thoughts my mind is telling me?
Or in that pain body kicks in.
Or
like
in the
as
pain
Eckhart
body.
Tolle, he talks about the pain body is this collective emotional pain being that is always in human existence, basically, and it can take you over. Your own version of pain, the pain body, which is just the history of the pain in your life, just surges up, and you just feel bad, and you feel sad, and you don't know why you're sad, and you think about the same thing that didn't make you sad, and all of a sudden today it makes you super sad, and then when that activates, it's like it can easily, it's like that pain inside of you wants to activate the pain inside of your partner, and it wants to get a little back and forth
Yes.
happening.
And if your partner can go under.
Yeah, and so it's you can feel when your partner is pulling, when your partner has an energy of, not that they're pulling, but their pain body is pulling at you, you can feel the tug because you want to interact. You want to comment. If there's a comment that comes out, you want to get into it a little bit. He's like, you want to be like, okay, you're going to go there. We're going to go there. We're going to go there. And you're like, we're going to go there then. Yeah. It's like, you can't go there.
That is what your pain body sounds like.
Yeah, we're going to go there? Oh.
No, when Tim goes unconscious, and this I want to bring up.
Oh, we're out of time. I'm sorry, folks.
Wait.
Podcast is over.
No,
Thanks for coming.
This is something that is distinct to spiritual relationships.
Okay, I'm ready.
Do you know what I'm going to say?
Let's hear it.
You're supposed to psychically intuit.
I know what you're going to say.
What am I going to say?
I'm not going to say.
Okay, I'll say it. The spiritual ego takes over often.
Yes, the spiritual ego.
This is the self-righteous voice in your head that says that it is spiritual and knows better than your partner who is currently being unconscious. And how dare your partner go unconscious right now? You know, your partner is not nearly as spiritual as you are.
Yes.
And so that's another pitfall is, you know, A Course in Miracles says when you see someone else's ego, you're in ego.
Yeah.
It's like if you're sitting there pointing out someone else's unconsciousness,
yeah.
you're unconscious.
Unless you are aware that you are...
No, don't. No. See, you can see who has the bigger spiritual ego. Here's...
Oh, how can you say that? I'm the most humble person in the room. No, I am. See, that's spiritual ego.
No.
You literally just pointed out my spiritual ego. That means that was your spiritual ego.
No, here's...
Boom. I dropped
it. Here's the point. The point is that when someone goes unconscious, if we judge them, then it means we're unconscious. The way that I think about it is I think about it as a call for love, right? So if someone is complaining, if they are acting irrational or short or angry or stubborn, then whatever that unconsciousness manifests as, in my mind, the conscious loving response would almost be in a way to treat them like a child who's in pain.
Yeah.
Like, oh, is that how you're feeling? Oh, okay. I hear what you're saying. What can I do to help? It's a loving, tender approach, versus he's being unconscious again, or he's not as, did he meditate today?
Right.
Like it's
a way you treat a child who's having
a tantrum.
Bobby's having a fit again. Okay, I love you.
Exactly.
How are you feeling in there? Okay. Ooh, don't ask that.
Right.
I'm fine.
Right. And I think that's a loving response, and not in a patronizing way.
It's hard not to
in
sometimes.
A genuine way, though, in a way of, not, in a way to say, right now this person is being triggered, and it does suck to be triggered.
Yeah.
Like if someone is having an actual reaction, maybe, and the stuff that comes up between us now is fairly light, but I know there are things that come up in couples where it's like real jealousy or real anger.
Yeah.
Like they, big issues do surface,
Right.
maybe someone's did something deceptive or whatever.
Maybe that's what we need to do in our next spiritual relationship podcast, is talk about processes to work through things. Like something comes up, what do you do? Like if you really have something serious in your relationship to talk through,
run away.
Like, run. Don't talk about it. Ever.
You have to talk about it,
Yeah.
But
all right. Yeah. All right. Good.
Are we
yeah.
out of
I
time
think
for
we're
this episode?
we're coming to the end of our around a half an hour ish of conscious coffeeing.
Do you feel more conscious or less conscious as a result of our conversation?
I would say more. I'm more. Definitely more. I think anytime you talk about consciousness,
you're present.
You went up a little bit.
Yeah.
You got some more conscious experience points.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Channeling.
So this is what we do. We just sit around and talk about this stuff, and
we do other things.
No,
we don't.
No. So if you like what we're talking about, if this makes sense, if it feels good being a part of our mindful spiritual conversations, then subscribe, click the little notifications to stay up to date. Leave us a comment about your relationship,
Yes.
and if anything resonated with you from what we said that you're like, oh, I have that experience, or feel free, drop us a message. And if you're interested in any coachings, or you're looking for some help with finding a partner, spiritual partnership, that kind of thing, Jesse does coachings. I do some limited coachings as well. But thanks for stopping by. We look forward to seeing you in our next episode.